Hi guys, it's Saintvicious, and this is going to be the League of Legends patch 4.3 rundown. So let's see what they changed. They changed some stuff with the LOL client. None of that really I'm only going to really talk about like game changes themselves. Vel'Koz is going to be put in the game with this patch. I'm not really 100% sure on him because I haven't seen all his numbers yet, and they keep changing them on the PBE. So I can't really give my opinion of him until they finalize his numbers and I get a feel for him. But from what he looks like a really interesting champion, and I think he could be good. A lot of like long-range poke champs are really good in this meta, so I think he could have his place. Corki, they changed his phosphorus bomb. They give it a 0.580 ratio, and that's actually really, really huge if you think about it, because that adds 50 attack damage to his Q at level 1. So this really puts it in line with Caitlyn. And what it'll do is I think his old phosphorus bomb I think was 80 damage or something like that, and it had no scaling on it. And now he's gonna have 130 damage level 1 on his phosphorus bomb. So he has one of the highest level 1 nukes in the game as far as AD carries go. So I think this will allow Corki to get past his really weak early game, because before what would happen is you would have Corki and his 1 through 6 was kind of like mediocre, and he would get pressured by a lot of stuff. And then he would hit 6, and he would just instantly kill whoever is in the lane because his missiles are so broken. And then they nerfed missiles, and he just like didn't really have any strong points about him. So I think Phosphorus Bomb is going to make his laning overall better and make his trading a lot better. Gragas, they lowered the body slam 80 ratio because basically now you have to put points into it rather than getting points in W. It's actually a buff to his late game, but a nerf to his early game. So that all-in isn't going to be as strong at level 1. Gragas' lane matchups are going to be a little bit weaker. And he won't be able to have that all-in threat as hard. But I still think he's going to be really strong. Because all they really nerfed was the AD ratio on it. The AP ratio is still just as good. So I still think he'll be really good when it comes to like that all-in level 2. It'll just be slightly weaker. Explosive cast, the ability power ratio got nerfed by 0.1, and then they lowered the mana cost to 100 at all ranks. I think this is really good change to Gragas. Like they didn't really overkill him. They didn't make him like unplayable. They just like toned down his damage. Because when you get killed by a Gragas, once he has like a little bit of AP, when he has like a Thieves and Death Cap and he just runs up and one-shots you, it's pretty damn dumb. He'll still probably be able to one-shot people, but now you might have like a little. It's like, hey, you got the Negatron, like maybe you'll live now, or like maybe you got that Ruby Crystal, you probably live now too. And then they have Kassadin, who I guess their intention was to nerf him into the ground, but to be honest, I still think Kassadin's going to be good after these changes. Like, the damage on Null Spear only got reduced by 20 at max rank, and then the silence only got reduced by 0.5 on the base as well, and throughout all the levels up to his max rank. So, I think, like, people weren't even maxing Q anyways after they nerfed it before. They were maxing E. So I think that Q nerf is going to hurt that badly. Like, it'll make it a little bit more where you can escape because the silence is going to be lower, but I still think Kassadin will be able to chase down most people. It's just his all-in trade once he hits level 6 won't be as strong. And then Force Pulse got the base damage lowered by 40 at max rank. So I think late game Kassadin will still be just as strong. Well, not just as strong. He'll be slightly weaker, but he'll be still like really damn annoying. If he gets going, he'll probably still like kill your whole team. But his early game is going to be a lot weaker, so it'll be harder to get going. But I still think late game Kassadin is going to be a monster. Will he be a permaban champion? Probably not, but will he be a viable champion? Probably. I could definitely see him still being picked. And they have Kazakhs, who they nerfed his evolved Q by 2%, and then they also nerfed the maximum damage by 100 on monsters. That's like a big nerf to jungle Kazakhs, because like before, jungle Kazakhs would like instantly kill Baron or Dragon, and like he did buff so fast, and like his just gank potential when he hits level 6, if he got on you, or if he met another jungler in the jungle, he would instantly kill them. And it also tones down Kazakhs' level 6 a little bit. And then also they nerfed Kazakhs' E, the bonus AD attack damage ratio, by 0.6, so I think this is like the big nerf here. Not like the Q nerf is like kind of annoying, but the E nerf is like the really big one here, because like most Kazakhs would have like 200 plus bonus AD, and when you nerf 0.6 off that ratio, and a lot of people are evolving Wings second, and getting those multiple leap procs off for more burst damage, It's just gonna like tone down that overall reset damage that you're gonna have. Then they made Void Assault. They lowered Kazakh's unit. They made it where you have no unit collision, and then they increased the duration of evolved R, which is like whatever, because half the time people don't even have R evolved until 16 anyways, and then some people don't even evolve it. So I think that that change doesn't really matter. Rise, they increased his base health by about almost 60. It's 50, yeah, 54. Um, and then they increased the range by 25, which is I think they're just undoing the nerf. Didn't they like nerf it before? I think in one of the old patches when they nerf Rise. So now he has like his old Q back. I think I'm pretty sure the Q was at 625 before. So now he'll be able to trade a lot of matchups a little bit better, and he'll have a little bit more health, so he doesn't get all in the early levels. Will he be viable? I'm not 100% sure, because a lot of the champions people are playing right now kind of are really good against Rise. Like, Kazakh is pretty decent against Rise in the laning phase, so you can pop him and all in him. Ziggs can poke Rise out. Who else? Gragas can like instantly kill Rise in the early levels and are all in. But if you can get Rise out of that early laning phase, and maybe that health will help out with a little bit, and maybe the Q range will help out a little bit, then yeah, I think Rise will be a monster late game. And then who knows, maybe we'll even see Rise as a top laner again. Like, he was really popular at one point. Since, you know, they nerfed Doran Shield and a lot of the things this patch, you might see Rise top lane too. Skarner, they lowered the mana value on Q. That's just like big whoop 4 mana. That like means nothing to me. And then they increased the slow by 15% on Fracture, which is actually a pretty significant slow. It's a 2.5 second slow at max rank and a 65%. That's pretty damn massive. Will it make Skarner like really good? I'm not too sure, because the rework kind of feels kind of clumsy. So I have to like play around with it a little bit more. I think Skarner could be viable, but his just like 1 through 6 feels so weird. So I'm not really sure how I feel about him. And like I feel like you have to have flash to get your ultimate off, and like I don't know. I'm just not sure how I feel about Skarner right now. He just doesn't really have like a serious strong point of the game. He feels like a worse version of Vi, to be honest. Because like Vi has the same attributes where he has like a mediocre gank 1 through 6, and then he gets really strong at level 6. But the only difference is Vi has an even stronger gank at level 6, and perhaps even a better late game, just because of the way her passive scales and her denting blows and all that. So Skarner just feels like a poor man's Vi to me, to be honest. Like as far as jungling style goes. They nerfed ability power ratio on Teemo's mushrooms by 0.3. I still think if you get hit by a Leandri's Teemo mushroom, it's gonna hurt like a motherfucker. But I don't think it'll be like one-shotting you. So I definitely like the change on the AP ratio. Then they nerfed Yasuo's shield by 0.5 on the proc, and then they toned down the max rank shield by 220, which is really huge. So I think they want Yasuo to be more of an assassin rather than being somebody that just goes in and just like plows your ass. So, because when they did that ultimate change to Yasuo where he automatically resets his shield, basically you would go into a team fight as Yasuo, you'd have a 690 shield, you get focused a little bit, and then he would ulti again and get another 690 shield. And that's just such a massive amount of effective health that he's getting off his shield that they had to nerf that some. So I still think Yasuo will be really strong, but he just won't be like invulnerable. And like unmanageable, so I think you'll be able to kill him a lot easier. They did like a lot of fear changes, because sometimes people would just run straight away from you when you fear them. Now it's making them be slowed when they run away, so they're not just gonna like fear and then like randomly like run all the way away from you. And then they also increased the cast range on Drain by 100, which I don't really think is like that big of a deal anyways. Like who cares about the cast range on W? So these are just the fear changes. These are just some bug fixes and like the card particle change. That doesn't really affect like the play style of the champion. A bug fix to Volibear's W. I didn't even know this was in the game, to be honest. Like that he wasn't getting the health increase off his W. That's going to be a pretty big increase to his W's execute damage. And then they also made the chunk pickup radius and stomp radius on Zack go up by 25, which is just kind of reverting a little bit one of the nerfs that they did to Zack before. I don't think this really fixes Zack's problems, but I think he'll be just like a little less annoying to play now. Then Tear of the Goddess, they just made it to where you can stack it a little bit easier. Additionally grants +1 maximum mana per 8 seconds, +1 maximum mana per 6 seconds on Crystal Scar. So now it will passively stack itself even if you're not casting spells. And I'm pretty sure this is on top of the. I wonder if if you can still stack it with casting spells. I haven't seen it in game, but if you can stack with both by just like sitting on it and by casting spells, and you'll stack tiers so fast, and I think more people will buy it. Doran Shield, they nerfed it by 20 health and 4 block. This is a huge change to bot lane because all the supports just buy Doran Shield and all the top laners just buy Doran Shield. I don't really think it affects mid lane as much, but I think this is a huge change to bottom lane. I'm not. I have to like play around with it and get a feel for it, but I'm not 100% sure that I'll get Doran Shield anymore in the bot lane. Probably won't, mainly because they changed all the support items, and I'll go into that later. Spirit Stone items, they lowered it by 2% on the health, 1% on the mana. That's fine because like I felt it was too much. You were getting back way too much health and mana from the jungle item. So these are nerfs, but I think that they're warranted and they'll still be fine. But it's kind of a buff too, because health and mana restore no longer half for area of effect spells. So now what I mean is like if you have Pantheon or Vi and you're doing your AoE on the creeps, you'll get back the full amount. So I think this is actually a buff to the item for AoE clears. Damn. Alright, so like messing with that. So boots of mobility. I don't know like why they did this change to boots of mobility. They lowered the cost by 200 gold, and then they made the in-combat movement speed lowered to 25, but the out-of-combat is higher. So they kind of want boots of mobility just to be for like getting around the map. Maybe it's for supports or something like that they're looking for. I don't think I'll ever get boots of mobility on anybody again after this though, to be honest. Like I appreciate the out-of-combat movement speed, but I don't know. Not having full in-combat movement speed is really annoying. I have to see how it feels, but I really don't like that it's only 25 in combat, because you're going to get chased down. If you get caught with boots of mobility, you're going to get chased down really easily. So I have to see how that feels. Ruby Health Crystal, they lowered the health by 30, and then they lowered the gold cost by 75. Kind of an irrelevant change, and I think they mainly did this to affect the Sightstone, because Sightstone now has a base health of 150, and then they lowered the gold value on it, or gold cost on it, by 150. So now people will be able to get Sightstone even easier. And this is actually a buff to Lee Sin, I think, because A, Ruby Sightstone is going to be more powerful. They'll have 400 health rather than 360. And B, like it'll just be cheaper to get the earlier part. The Sightstone, like 800 gold rather than 150 gold. Like that means you can get your Sightstone and a pink ward on Lee Sin, rather than just like having to fork out all that cash and just get the Sightstone. Same thing for supports. Like you'll be able to get a Sightstone and a pink ward and like a potion. So like I think this will make your early to mid game transition on supports and like jungle Lee Sin a lot more optimal. So I like these changes to Sightstone and Ruby Sightstone. And the Ruby Sightstone change is also really big because like right now in the current patch, it feels like there's no reason to upgrade Ruby Sightstone. It feels really shitty. And I think with this it'll like definitely warrant upgrading the Sightstone. Like you're more than doubling the amount of health you get on the item. As well as like increasing the ward stack, so I think it's a pretty good late game upgrade for it. What are they? To change Spell Thief's Edge, like they can change this entire item. I was looking at the video for it on PvE, and like the fully upgraded version of this looks really nice. It's like an AOE, like little skill shot that you shoot out and then explodes, and it's AOE slow. And I think it slows for quite a bit. Yeah, 80% decaying over 2 seconds, so that's a really huge slow. And I think it'll actually be a good way of initiating if your team's kind of lacking. I have to play around with it a little bit more and see, but I think Spell Thief's Edge will be really nice. So let's go over the item. Spells and basic attacks against champions or buildings deal 10 additional damage and grant 5 gold. It can occur up to 3 times every 30 seconds. Killing a minion disables this pass for 12 seconds. So this is a really big change because before, one of the reasons why people wouldn't get Spell Thief's Edge is it made it a really predictable playstyle if you were like wanting to generate the maximum amount of gold from the item, because you would constantly be wanting to auto attack. So it just sets it up to where a jungler would just come and try to kill you while you're trying to get gold off of your auto attacks. That's why Spell Thief's Edge wasn't as good. But now all you have to do is get your autos on turrets, or like you just have to get them in 3 autos in 30 seconds, which makes it a lot safer playstyle. They nerfed the ability power by 5, and then they nerfed the mana regen down to 2, which is, who cares? And then it also has 2 gold per second per 10 passive, which is pretty nice. Like I like having gold passives on the Spell Thief's Edge. Then the upgraded version is going to cost a little bit more gold. It's going to have less AP, 10 less AP, less mana regen, but of course it's going to have a stronger proc. Like, you're going to do 15 additional damage, and it's going to grant 10 gold. So I think the gold generation is kind of low. They might have to tweak that. Like 10 gold per 3 auto attacks. That means you're going to make 30 gold every 30 seconds, assuming you get all 3 your autos in. But I don't know. I have to mess around with it. At least the item has 4 gold per 10 on the GB10. So I think it'll probably be pretty good for gold generation, assuming you can get all 3 of your autos in. But if you can't get all 3 of your autos in, like let's say you're you're like zoned out or something, it could be kind of bad. I'll have to see. I have to mess around with it more. And then of course they have the fully upgraded version that has the slow, the 80% slow, and then it's maybe about a 200 damage nuke late game, or 150 to 200 damage nuke. Uh, yeah, and then 80% slow decaying over 2 seconds. I think this slow is going to be really underrated. A lot of people, I think it's going to take a while for people to catch on. Like an 80% AoE slow on a 60-second cooldown is really, really, really huge, especially for champions that don't have innate CC. Like, could you imagine Sona with an 80% slow, and then she also has her slow cord, and then she has her ultimate? It's going to be pretty nice. Like, adding CC, like an 80% CC to champions that don't have CC can drastically change how they're played. And it can also drastically change how, like, even some of the AP champions are played, like Annie. Imagine adding an 80% slow AoE on top of her stuns already. It's going to be pretty big. Then on top of that, it also adds 10% CDR, which is really nice. I really like that they put that on the item. CDR is so nice for supports, and the old Frost Queen's claim did not have any CDR, so it was kind of overshadowed by the other items that did have CDR on them. The ability power ratio got lowered by 10, still has the gold per 10, and still has the mana regen. So Frost Queen's claim, I think I overall like it, and I'll probably be trying it out on maybe Annie, maybe Sona. I have to mess around with it, see how much I like the item. But in some of the AP casters, I'll probably be going Frost Queen's claim. And then they changed the Relic Shield, mainly just like they took the health regen off of it, lowered the health a little bit. But what they did is they made it to where like you heal every time you use your stack, rather than just like having the passive health regen on the base item. Then also on top of that, it heals. It still heals whoever you transfer the stack to, and then it just makes it easier. Like this, the clarity. Allies who benefit from Spoils of War now also gain +1 to their minion killed score. So it's not just like, damn, that bottom lane's losing by like 20 CS. It's like, no, they actually have a Targans, like they're equal in CS. So I think that's just going to make a little bit easier to see how the lane's going. The upgraded Targans base, same treatment as like the Frost Queen's claim. They made it a little bit more expensive, and they lowered the health regen on it. So they nerfed the item a little bit and made it a little bit more expensive. And I think that's they made these changes to go along with the Sightstone changes. Remember, you're going to have 150 less gold that you're investing into this. So this 15 gold is like, it's almost nothing. Like, I would much rather have 150 gold off my Sightstone item than 15 gold on my second upgrade for my Targans. And I probably will upgrade my Sightstone second rather than upgrading to my second tier of jungle or support item. And then Face of the Mountain, pretty much the same item. Unique active shield targets ally for 10% of your maximum health for 40 seconds. After further target explodes, dealing. The only big change they did here was instead of the explosion scaling off of your health, now it scales off of the target's total AD or their total AP. So let's say you have that 300 AD carry, it's gonna blow up for 300 damage. So that's gonna be pretty big nuke, I guess. And then everything else is pretty much the same on the item. And then they changed the Ancient Coin. Now there's no health regen on it. You just heal whenever minions die around you. And when you upgrade it, it'll have health regen, but lower, since you still get healed off of all the minions dying around you. And it'll have lower mana regen as well. Then of course they gave it the same treatment, 15 extra gold to go along with the Sightstone changes. And then you just have mana regen off of the max rank item. Shirley's is still going to be, or Talisman Ascension, whatever you want to call it, will still be like a really amazing item because it gives 20% CDR, which is so huge, and it's such a good initiation, and it's so good for initiation and for like fleeing away from people. So I still think Talisman of Ascension is the best item out of the three, but now I think that there's going to be more of a place for the other items. Then of course they're going to try to add Team Builder. But yep, that's it. That's all my thoughts on patch 4.3. Or wait, is this 4.3? Yeah, 4.3. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching. Peace.